Live from the Illuminati scheduled apocalypse. This is Free Music Empire State of the Game. Wrapping it up. I am Dano. Bury me in this woo-ware. It's not a joke. It's religion. My co-host, cohort, backup, off the bench, won a wrestling match with Billy D. Williams and Tavis Smiley at the same time.
Same damn time, yeah.
Talk about it. K. Diggy, hello. So I have come up with my top 50. We're not giving it all to you. We're giving 50 to 26. We're giving that chunk.
Yeah.
And I felt very bad personally about this list, right? In the sense that usually, like in the past, like there's been years where me, like, and Derek, who founded the site, would look at each other and go, nobody did really that well, so no one gets the MVP this year. Like, we were pretty harsh with it. This year, there's so much good stuff that I felt bad having to whittle it down to 50. There's we can talk about exceptions right now because we're doing 50 to 26 this episode.
Yep. So
number 51 is Dad Bod Rap Pod's album of the year.
Wow.
Purple Pages by Rap Ferreira and Jefferson Park Boys, which is Kenny Siegel and his people. Did you get a chance to check that out at all? I think I threw you that link a little bit.
What was the name of it?
Moonlight Purple Pages?
No, I wasn't. I didn't get a chance to check out that one.
It's just very jazzy. Rap Ferreira used to go by Milo. Used to live in Maine a little bit. And just a real cerebral dude. I've always said, like, listening to him is like floating in space, like in that Gravity movie. You just don't have much to grab onto. This was a very meditative album, but it was his best. Kenny Siegel's a genius, and it was emotive. I just never put it on. I never put it on. It was too much to deal with for me. So number 50 on my list is Baby Mother, Motherland. I would rather listen to that every day than Purple Pages, even though Purple Pages might be a more refined thing.
Right. So what was the criteria? Like what was the difference between 51 and 50 for you?
I can't give you this spot if I don't listen to you. I just can't. I don't care how marvelous it is. If I don't play it, that's a lie. I feel like that's a lie. You know, like if it's the best, but I heard it once and it's the best. That sucks. I'm not doing that. If it's on my list, then it's killing my headphones. You know,
right? Okay.
It's it's at a high level. All those metrics we talk about, right? Production, intentionality. I guess what I thought of, because I usually when we talk about these things, I have something in my mind, right?
Okay.
To guide me, right? And this time it was the album experience.
Okay.
I really thought about the album experience, and I thought about like it's kind of like going to a movie and being like, fuck, like you can remember coming out of a theater just blown away. Like the album experience at its best is like that, right?
As in, like, when you're done listening to it, like how you feel? Is that what you mean by?
Well, it's how you feel, but it's a world you now know, right?
Oh, okay.
It's a world that pulled you in, right? Like that is just intoxicating. I told you this story before, but I love Inherent Vice. And I was listening to like a variety podcast or something about it, and they were all kind of being like, no, it's not really P.T. Anderson's best, because P.T. Anderson's held to this high standard, whatever. I didn't like the other stuff. So I liked this better. And I knew I was going to be like on the outskirts of this thing. But like, as they talked about the movie and the world of it and the characters in it, they were just only saying complimentary things. And by the end of it, one person said, you know, at the beginning we said we didn't really, this was a disappointment, but we kind of love this movie. So it's just like this weird push and pull. And for me, that's the important part. All the people in that discussion who were talking about Inherent Vice is not a great movie are going to watch it 7, 8 times.
Right.
They're going to watch it over and over again. They're going to own it because it's a great movie.
Right.
You just
so it may not be like, you may not like it, but it's compelling enough that you want to rewatch it again.
The album experience, right? Something you can only get from it, right? And Motherland by Baby Mother is a fucking album experience, dude. That shit is wild. So we'll do 5. I'll give you my like 50 to 45, and we'll just talk about what hit me from those. Baby Mother, Motherland, Sleep Sinatra, August Fanon, Routes, Fly Sifu's, Fly Anakin and Pink Sifu, Kelly Chris and Chris Keys, Innocent Country 2, Jeff Parker, Sweet for Max Brown, and Beyond Bulletproof by Mozzie. So, you said you've listened to a lot of the stuff on this list?
Yeah.
How many of those 5 are you familiar with?
I'm familiar with 3. The Mozzie, I believe Max, the Sweet, Max, Sweet for, and then I'm forgetting.
Max Brown, yep.
Yes.
Kelly Chris?
Yes.
Yep.
The country, the innocent.
Yep. Innocent Country 2. Yep.
Yes.
So so that's good. The Routes is fantastic, and anybody interested should go to my review of Routes. And listen, August Fanon is an amazing producer, and he really did get the best out of Sleep, who is just a real talented dude, and they just pushed each other to do new things, man. And I'm excited. Next Sleep album is going to be with a producer, Ed Glorious, who produced another album on my list. So I'm very excited about that. Fly Sifu. Oh, that album. I mean, some people were disappointed.
Oh wait, Fly Sifu. Yes. Now, I've listened to Fly Sifu. Yes.
Some people were disappointed in it, and they wanted a kind of a bigger thing. I loved it as a hang. I think it's a wonderful hang.
Yeah.
And those guys are so talented. I think Pink Sifu said that Fly Anakin is so dope, and he's so focused on his lyrics that it was really like rapping with his friends in school. Like it was like back to those days. Like they were just going after it. And I think you can feel that in this record.
Yeah.
They're laughing. There's weird skits. It's a vibe. There's smoke music, but they're rapping.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say from 50 to 45, what I would say about each album is that there's a very like strong, I want to say narrative voice, but I mean, the person who's rapping or the people who are rapping have very strong and distinct voices.
Yeah.
Or like not necessarily voices as in a technical stance, but as in like, I think when you're rapping on an album, you're creating a character. It's almost a lot like a short story in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So yeah, every album is like a short story. So if you're creating a short story, not only do your characters need to be compelling, but your narrative and your environment that you've created need to be compelling as well.
And I think, it leads to a great point. I think what I really wanted these albums to lead me to their destination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted them to have their own vision
Right.
and like lead me towards it, uh, and leave me gratified for it, right? And like, so there's some of these albums I didn't like the first time I heard
Mm-hmm.
them, and they won me over. Like, so that's pretty cool. Now, the Suite for Max Brown, I would say that is kind of, it's a jazz album. Some people may be like, "Ooh, jazz album." It's a classic jazz album. Am I right? Like that is a pretty classic jazz album.
As in classic, like belongs in like the same class as like Miles Davis or
If
jo-
if you were interacting with a relative who knew jazz, but only old jazz, right?
straight ahead jazz. Okay.
Only like the classical period of jazz, 50s ish, right? That kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Like you could hand them Sweet for Max Brown and they would
Absolutely.
love it.
Absolutely. Yep.
There are some people who in jazz who are like mixing in rappers or trying to switch it up and all that.
Yeah.
Ambrose, um, but a lot of times it doesn't work. Ambrose, but Sweet for Max Brown is like takes what works from jazz history and shuffles it really well.
Right.
Um, and I needed that shit this year. You can say it's nostalgic, you can ding it. I needed it, man. I needed it.
Yeah.
So let's do the next 5 here
Okay.
because we're getting to some stuff. The next 5 is interesting, man. I'm interviewing somebody from the next 5 Sunday, so that's cool. Fatboy Sharif and Roper Williams. Gandhi Loves Children.
Mm-hmm.
Intento, Lo Bueno Está Aquí. Cargo Cults, Nihilist Millennial. Rico Nasty, Nightmare Vacation. Amine, Limbo.
Wow.
So, how many of those did you hear?
I've heard 3. Obviously the Amine and Rico Nasty. And then I heard sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The second one you mentioned.
Contento?
No, what was the one after that?
Cargo Cults.
Yes.
Nihilist Millennial. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So, and that's interesting because that Alaska, who's primary rapper on Nihilist Millennial, I'm having a full Zoom with Sunday. Very exciting being able to talk to him because he, like we said, he was on Cannibal Ox Cold Name. Like he's like a legend in this indie shit. Playing video games with Aesop Rock while they were making classics and shit. So what did you? So here, let me give you the Fatboy Sharif and Roper Williams. Gandhi Loves Children. That is a horrorcore album. That is straight up. If you put that shit on, you'll be like, holy shit! I can't believe he said that. But as he says, none of the shit he says is a lie. He tells the inappropriate things he says are references to real shit going on in the world.
Right.
He just doesn't want people to be afraid to say shit that's really going on. But Roper Williams is a genius. That was unbelievable. Roper Williams is who produced Pravda, that group track on the Droog. And he is his. I mean, Small Professor picked this as one of his 5 best produced albums of the year that he didn't do. It's magnificent, and Sharif is nimble and exciting to listen to. I didn't want to like this at first. It's just not my kind of thing, horrorcore. I've done it, but as an older person, it's not my jam. But so good. Uh, the song "Fly Pelican Fly" that's become one of my favorite songs of the year. You know, one hell of a guy, "Fly Pelican Fly." Contento.
So
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say. So what distinguishes this group from uh 50 to 45 from you to you?
Okay. So yes, we're really getting into people who had a vision that won me over, right? Gandhi Loves Children. I did not want to like, right, when I started listening to it, and every song feeds into the next song. Some of them are 3 minutes long. Some of them are 1 minute long. Everything makes perfect sense exactly where it is.
Okay.
Sequencing is bulletproof. It really is.
Right. So it's like the crafting of the album. So now you're getting into like I mean, because it's interesting because like I like asking questions about like why people choose and why people make distinctions and choose what they like. You know what I mean? So I think now like the higher you get, the higher we're gonna get in your list, the more crafted the album is. You know, like the more details of the work you can appreciate.
Yep.
Would you say that? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and people doing special things at a high level, right?
mm-hmm,
Contento, number 43.
mm-hmm,
Two Colombian expatriates doing salsa and punk kind of mix. Uh,
wow,
and just hanging out between genres, uh, amazing in amazing ways. Uh, and I don't know a word of it. Like there's like I think Palo Negro or whatever, where it's a remake of an American song in a salsa way, but and in some of those words I know, but most of it I have no idea what they're saying, but it's amazing. It's a great hang. I can put it on, and my family's into it. Um, it's it's just breezy, dude. It's breezy. The let's see here. I was gonna check out how many tracks it is. I was just it was in my like Bandcamp feed,
mm,
you know, and I was just like, hey man, you might like this. And I was like, oh, yeah, 8 songs,
mm.
8 songs. Uh, excellent stuff, excellent stuff. So, Contento, Lo Bueno está aquí. Then we got Cargo Cults, Nihilist, Millennial. What struck you listening to it? Do you remember it?
I, the only thing I remember is it was pretty dark. Um, that's what
Alaska
that's
has
all.
Alaska has a lot of great punchlines. He's really good with weird punchlines and references. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of that on the album. I re-listened to it this week, obviously, 'cause I'm going to talk to him. But uh, I was really struck by, like that sports expression, great teams finish quarters.
Yes.
Like he finishes the shit out of songs, dude. He really does.
Now, what do you mean by finish?
Like that, like his last verse down to his last line is like, wow.
I see.
It's like
So there's
he
not like
sticks.
a lot of right. Because I think a lot of rappers or even artists in general like they throw in filler to their song. You know what I mean? Like they have a good first verse or whatnot, and then like they think, okay, I got to finish the song. I can't just do one verse, so they'll throw in like a second verse that's much weaker than the first verse.
And they've taken the pressure away from themselves. Bazilla Rocca produced it, Cargo Cults. He's the other member of that. And one of the things Zilla Rocca talks about getting that it's hard to digest is a lot of these rappers post Rock Marciano, post Ka have taken the drums out and they just kind of float through. They don't really do
Mm-hmm.
choruses. They just kind of like float through verses over a drumless ambiance. So you don't know where you start and where you end.
Right.
And Nihilist Millennial rejects all that, dude. Alaska just goes off. Uh, and it's real beautiful. It's real good. Um, but I told him online, like, that album makes me proud to be old. Like, it really does have a good, there's a lot of really funny self-effacing lines. Uh, the first song, Get Off My Lawn, he says, uh, old man with skin tags who dresses like Sinbad.
Okay.
He's awesome. So he's just a witty dude, a lot of interesting references. Uh, and I mean, All Power to All People is an incredible song. Uh, he's a real interesting political animal because he doesn't believe in anyone or what anyone is saying. And he kind of explains that while remaining humane and a person who loves humanity. So
Right.
it's not easy. 41, Nightmare Vacation, Rico Nasty, 40, Limbo, Amine. These are like attached in some way in my mind, uh, because they're both really talented, kind of up and coming people. Uh,
Okay.
and I think the world of Amine, I think he's really smart, good pop sensibilities, uh, and he'll be here for a while. Uh, and Rico is so good at stylizing her music and herself, right?
Right.
The vision of the thing, right? Like, that's what's weird about the Good News comparison, right? Is like, Megan's a better rapper than Rico in
Yes.
my mind.
I'd agree.
But that doesn't matter if the finished product isn't as good,
Right.
right? Like, back in the day, these people would be like, this dude's the illest, and we'd be like, man, his beats always suck. Shit is always too long. No, he's not the illest. And they'd be like, he is. And be like, no, the end result has to be the illest. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a difference between, being talented and also, having vision as well. Like, I think you can be like you can be technically talented. I think Meg is a very technically talented rapper, female or male, like, just period. She can out rap most rappers. But the vision, like, I think what I would give the edge to for Rico is the vision. Like, she knows what type of artist she wants to be, and her album sounded like an artist that had vision.
I would rather listen to her album than a lot of albums. It's
Mm.
very good. She's very interesting.
Yep.
She makes very interesting choices ahead of other people. I think
Hmm.
she got last year she was in a fight with Azalea Banks because Azalea Banks wanted Kenny Beats first, and she had the full length with him. Bang! Like, she takes advantage of her situations,
Right.
and it's we become the next generation has become more of a branding generation. People make fun of it, I understand, but they're more rounded in a certain sense, right? Of like, hey, I'm taking charge of all these different aspects.
Right.
Where before it wasn't really like that. Um, so 39 is Knox Fortune, Stockchild Wonder. 38 is Yves Tumor, Heaven to a Tortured Mind. 37, Little Baby, My Turn. Chris Crack, Haters Forgot They Were Fans First. And Preservation, Eastern Medicine, Western Illness. Oh, this is a block close to my heart.
Yeah.
So how many of those did you hear?
I've heard all of those.
Oh wow,
Yes.
this is good. This is good. So Knox Fortune, Stockchild Wonder. is one of the best pop albums of the year.
Agreed.
It's a
Uh,
beautiful album.
yeah, I mean, I was because I haven't listened to his first album yet, but I was familiar with him from Chance the Rapper's, was it Colored
Right,
Book 2? Was it?
right,
I think
right,
it was
right,
Colored
right.
Book 2. He had the song, I think he had a couple songs, but All Night. All night I've been drinking all night. And oh, like I was familiar with him and I'd heard a lot of good things about him. But when I listened to this album, like I mean, I was shocked by how good it was.
And it when you're making a great pop album that like resonates with people, a lot of times it's because it's just really warm. Like
Yes.
there's a real warmth to it. Knox Fortune's music is always summer music. It always
Yeah.
has that feel. And I played outside with my son to this album so much. Um, it it's just a joy. Um, Eva's Tumor, Heaven to a Tortured Mind is a different shade, right? It's a darker shade.
Yes.
Um, I love it though because it is a rock. It's to me, it's like one of the only rock star albums of 2020.
Ooh. Now, how would you define a rock star album? Because I think I agree with you, but what's your
So a rock
definition?
rock star album is like, you think of like the Rolling Stones, and you're thinking about Mick Jagger's face, right? You're thinking about like that sneer. You're thinking about like taking charge of everything and being like, I'm the fucking man around here. And like Yves Tumor does that on Heaven to a Tortured Mind. He puts on a show.
Ah,
He
okay.
puts on a show. Uh, and I loved it. I really was like, I listened to this, was like, this is kind of what rock music doesn't have anymore. Is people like this. Like
Like strong personalities.
but people who can take because you can't just make rock music the way you used to anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. You can't get out there and just be like, yeah, this is like Zeppelin. It's old, right?
Right.
We're in a technological world where we're post hip hop right now. This is what it is. So rock has had a hard time incorporating that. And Heaven to a Tortured Mind incorporates kind of hip hop sounds or trip hop sounds, electronic sounds,
Mm-hmm.
but it also bubbles up and just savages the listener the way a rock album used to.
Right. Okay.
I'm into it. The surprise about Little Baby, and I don't know if I've told you, the real surprise to me about that album and why it never falls out of my top is that there's just nothing shockingly different about it.
Different from what?
He took the producers everybody knew about, the sounds everybody's heard for years, the auto tune everyone's tired of, and he made one of the best albums you could make. It's kind of fantastic. Like it's that's pure talent. Like he has talent. He's emotionally scarred. Uh,
Absolutely.
I mean
Gorgeous song.
he has songs, man. What was the one I couldn't fucking get away from? What was the one on the soundtrack from last year?
Soundtrack from last year. Oh, you're talking about Queen and Slim? Was it?
Yeah, Catch the
Uh,
Sun. Catch the Sun. Love that shit. Um, and then same thing. I couldn't get away from same thing. Um, Always in my rotation. I just you just couldn't get away from him, and he killed every feature. Every feature.
no, it's interesting because Little Baby is interesting to me because I think, like, obviously, I'm thinking the state of the rap game right now. Obviously, we have, Drake is still the pop king of hip hop. There's still Kendrick Lamar. There's still J. Cole, but there haven't really been any other like, all-stars or superstars that have kind of arisen in the last 2 years or so.
It's an interesting idea. That's an interesting idea.
And I would dare say Little Baby Little Baby, aside from those top three, he's probably ascending to that place.
Yeah.
Like there's something with Little Baby that's really connecting with a lot of people. I mean, right now, I believe he has the #1 selling rap album for 2020.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's a great distinction that like Little Baby is one of the only people, probably Megan did this as well, who added their name to the top tier of popular artists this year. It's a very hard thing to do. It's not a knock on you if you don't do it. Like if I say Amine is a talented pop artist, he didn't add his name to the top tier. That's not me knocking him. It took Kendrick years to add himself to the top tier. People started saying, does he have the single? So Little Baby did. He put himself right there. And because he just crafts songs. He just does it, right?
I was gonna say, like, why do you think that he's connected in a way that a lot of rappers haven't?
He crafts songs. His songs are emotional, but they're fun.
Right.
They're not, it's not the depression of some of the other stuff. It still bounces. It still has like it has very classic trap sensibilities, but he gets to discuss racism openly here. He gets to discuss police brutality. He gets to discuss relationships, emotions, and connect in a different way. And I think there's definitely Drake probably heard My Turn and was like, man, I wish I could do that album. I wish I could do an album. Right? Because Drake can never do a full album in a full way. It's always like partly for this group of people, partly for this group of people. And he
got too many people to please. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't get to do a full consistent thing like My Turn. So that's that. Let's go 36. Chris Crack. Haters forgot they were fans first. I love this album. It's fabulous. He's a very driven individual. Yeah. It's
interesting that you have, for me, like it's interesting that you have him and Little Baby back to back, because I feel like the two albums are like very different, like in the way that they were crafted and constructed.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I mean, he's got a lot of Chris Crack. He's got a lot of energy. Like his albums they have a lot of, and particularly this one, have a lot of energy like that. What do I want to say? It goes beyond energy. It's like a certain type of kinetic energy that you can really feel.
Some people can't figure him out, and I think he's said it before that he's between. He's not quite comedy. He's not like a dyed in the wool rap guy, but he's not a pop guy either. Like he's created his own thing, and I think I love, like, one of the differences if you compare against Little Baby is really driving towards radio friendly music.
Yeah.
Chris Crack is making the weirdest jokes, the craziest references. Sometimes he's straight up rapping and he's amazing. Sometimes he's laying back singing, but it's always over the grooviest 70s shit. Like, what was the fucking album? I said that he retweeted me to this year when I said the dude from the Temptations, Ruffin.
David Ruffin?
Do you remember the David Ruffin album that Wiz took the cover for?
The Wiz Khalifa?
Gentleman Ruffin, 1980. Cushion Orange Juice. Cushion Orange Juice.
That's what.
The cover of Cushion Orange Juice is Wiz's face on top of Gentleman Ruffin. For those who don't know, but Gentleman Ruffin is great. It's 1980. It's the last album before David Ruffin dies. He was like coked out of his mind, but like still like the voice from the Temptations, like or whatever, still like a badass. Um, and he was just, but it was just the grooviest shit. It's grooviest, pimpiest shit. That's that's what the Sonics are behind Chris Crack. Like super groovy,
Yeah.
super 70s feeling, like R&B, coked out R&B, like that's the sonic world. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
And the dichotomy is beautiful because he sings into it. I He's just got a real mastery of what he's done,
Right.
what he does. So I love him. 35. Let's go. 35 is Eastern Medicine, Western Illness. I've seen people be like, "This is the album of the year," and other people are like, "No, it's not." um, Here's the thing: it's very hard to be a producer, put together your own album with a bunch of different MCs, and it be coherent in any way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
It'll
Yeah.
never be as good as someone who can lead you the whole way through.
Right. I mean, compilation album are difficult.
Difficult. Uh, Preservation knocked this one out of the park. The It's a perfect lineup. It's a perfect lineup. From Mac Hami to Nicholas F. Billy Woods, Ka. Uh, I was talking to Nate LeBlanc, and he said, I asked him the shocking moment from this year from a first listen of an album, and he said, listening to the Ka song on the Preservation album,
Mm. Yeah.
because he found this soul sample, or this like not soul sample. He found a sample, like a Hong Kong musical sample of someone saying "ka," and he like wove it into this beat, and it was just so awesome. I played that shit loud throughout my house. Just "ka." It was great. It was so great, uh, and such a cool preservation thing to do. It's so inventive. He like For those who don't know, he went to Hong Kong and he just like jumped into their music and just studied it. There's people from Hong Kong that are on it. It's fucking great. But he brought in all the grittiest New York dudes in there too. Uh, Tree is on there. It's great. It's just so cool to have like Tree over Hong Kong shit. It's really cool. Um,
So how do you think he pulled it off? Like, or I should say, like, why did this album work for you?
uh, I think Preservation, like working with Ka on days with Dr. Yen Lo, working with like high level people who were theming albums. He
Mm.
knew he knew that that it had to be this way, that it had to be artistically coherent. When
Right.
I saw the title Eastern Medicine, Western Illness, I thought, shit, that's a Ka title, bro. Like I really did.
Very true. Yeah.
That shit sounds like Ka. Like Preservation, and that's not like him copying Ka. Like they worked together. I'm assuming they
Yes.
pulled ideas, right, and grew with each other. So yeah, it hangs together because he he brings in and he glues the right people together. Boy, man, Billy Woods on that album is unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
Unbelievable. He really should do a full album with Preservation. But I do this all the time. I spend all my fucking time telling myself who Billy Woods should work with next. It's really irritating, and I'm annoying myself. Um, Navy Blue Ada Irene is 34. Uh, Another person I think Billy Woods should do a full album with, to be honest, because his production is so interesting and so unique. Uh, and that album is so meditative and,
Yeah.
and about family, and it's raw. It's
Be-
raw. He's
this
actually
album.
on Eastern Preservation, Western Illness as well. He
Right.
smashes it in like less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that one, Malcolm Strachan, About Time, Shay Nora, Apollo Brown, As God Intended, Action Bronson, Only for Dolphins,
Now,
and we'll do that for. Yep.
I was surprised Action Bronson was so high for you.
We can jump to it. I I will tell you because I was doing a comment on I try and update people's Bandcamp comments with positive shit, just run through it. So it's fun for me. And what I said when I was talking about the kind of joyful dexterity that he does through all these different kinds of songs,
Yeah.
right? Caribbean, Jamaican, like all these different kinds of songs, um, and just kind of flying one to the other. There's no stress. There's no like, I hope this works. Like there's not. He's just chill. I remember I wrote in the comment that no one in the world could have made this album.
Yeah, agreed. It
No,
would it would take a very strong personality to make rap personality. I mean, I don't know Action Bronson personally, but it takes a very strong personality, like a very strong character, to be able to make this album and hold all of the songs together, because they sound very different. Like each song is like and I remember when we were reviewing it when it originally came out, like this was one of the albums where I did not know what the next song would sound like.
but I know you're lying. I have a picture of you, James Harden, and Action Bronson coming out of a strip club. I'm not gonna post.
I was wearing my mask though.
It's good. It's good.
I had
I'm
my
glad.
mask on.
I'm glad. But you're right. They are better rappers, better singers, better artists don't have two things Bronson has on this album. And I don't think this is his best lyrical album either.
No.
They don't have the confidence he has to charge through these different kinds of music without worrying about it, right? But they also don't have is the love for this music. The love for this music.
Yeah.
You listen to Only for Dolphins, you know he listens to this shit.
Yep.
You know he's at home banging this shit, and there's no question in my mind he's somewhere listening to like 70s or 60s calypso, like right now, like because he doesn't give a fuck, and that's who he is. He really loves this shit. It's from the heart,
Right.
and
Okay.
it's a weird heart. It's a goofy heart, but it's from the heart. Yeah, like this is.
Right.
So it's special. It's as an album experience. Only for Dolphins is special. Uh, and I guess in a Chris Crack way, like of like, uniqueness. Uh, Malcolm Strachan, About Time. I don't know. Have you heard that one?
I did. That's once again was kind of like that straight ahead, like classic jazz that you.
I love it. I think it's the best jazz album that I've heard this year. Probably, and it's
Oh, okay. I mean, but that jazz is very, very. There are some artists, I would say, there's some artists who are considered jazz artists, but their music is kind of veering away from what we would consider to be like classical jazz.
yep.
I mean, because I'm thinking of Thundercat. Would you consider Thundercat to be a jazz artist?
Ooh, I like this question. It is what it is. At times he's like yacht rockish. There's times on Drunk where he's yacht rockish, right? But he's certainly capable of it, right? But he's not Kamasi Washington.
Right.
Kamasi is jazz, right? But he's And Terrace Martin, is Terrace Martin jazz?
I don't know. I mean, the way I know Terrace Martin is through Kendrick Lamar. I
His
mean, so that
solo instrumental stuff is gorgeous.
right.
It is gorgeous. I don't know it. I will say Straight Chin, yes. About Time uh, is a jazz album in that sense,
Yes.
but it's just the trumpet is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Um, it is just real windows in time. I guess what was the dude? Um, I guess like Bill Evans feeling, but in a trumpet. Like
Ooh.
um,
Yeah.
Bill Evans could
Right.
give you that time and space where you were just like, I used to walk into my hotel room and put on Bill Evans.
I would say that this album, like I would give to my dad. Like, let's say I'd give it to him as a gift, and I know that he would like it.
Yep.
And I mean, because the jazz, say it's very like it's. I mean, if you had told me that it was made in 1960, I would believe you. Believe well. You know what I mean? It's just it's crisp. It's modern, but it still has like that 1960s like straight ahead jazz feeling to it. So
Yeah, and an old school focus on not how we're genre bending, but how we're performing these instruments,
yeah,
right? Like,
right.
uh, killer stuff. I love that album. Have annoyingly recommended it to everybody. Uh, bu- 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 so Chez Noir, Apollo Brown, as God intended. Act we did that. We talked about Chez Noir is incredible and an
Absolutely.
incredible person getting all the love she should. Dua Lipa, number 30, Future Nostalgia. One of the very best pop albums of the year. Um, and we were watching her on SNL, me and my wife. And we were talking about how she can't dance. And she just kind of stands as the dancers dance, and she'll occasionally like do an easy move kind of thing.
Right.
And we both agreed that it's endearing.
She's very charismatic. Yes.
That like it seems like and I don't I'm not a Dua Lipa like person. I'm not locked in, but it seems like she was an indie darling and then crossed into the pop space. And so it's kind of like Feist in a way. Like if you remember
Ooh.
that.
Wow. I mean, I know her from. Wow. I would. I don't know her. Maybe she did have an indie album. I just know her like. I always consider her to be club music, but with a little bit of edge to it, like very. uh like it's music you would hear in the club, but there's a sharpness to it.
Right.
Uh, and there's like an edge to it you don't typically get from like club music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's one of the only few club artists, like or pop artists who, because I think it was last year she performed with Saint Vincent at the Grammys.
Right.
One kiss, they did like the One Kiss, and that I mean that was the best. That was one of the best Grammy performances I've ever seen.
And her voice is great. Uh,
Yes, very
it just
strong
feels like
voice.
she would rather focus on her music than become like a Britney Spears esque like event person. Um, this is the vibe I get from some of the performances I've seen. Her Tiny Desk is great. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I Future Nostalgia is one of the coolest disco albums I've heard in a long time.
Oh,
Levitating, Love Again, uh, you know, Break My Heart. These are all like, disco songs, dude. Uh,
what would you say? How would you compare it? Did you hear Lady Gaga's Chromatica?
Pieces of it, yeah, yeah.
It seems kind of like they're almost in like the same lane in a
I
way.
there's something there's something about dance uh, Gaga that I've never
Okay.
liked.
Oh,
That's like big and thick and clunky. And uh, who were the guys? Chester. What was that band Chester was in?
Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park. It is like Madonna with a Lincoln Park bigness.
Ah, I see what you mean.
There's
Like
something like unwieldy about it and annoying to me. Uh,
it's
it,
try hard. Like Lady Gaga. Okay, now that kind of makes sense to me. Lady Gaga, when she's making an album, she's trying to make the biggest pop dance song that she can. Everything's got to be bigger. Everything's got to be bigger. But there is, I mean, I would say, and when I contrast that with Dua Lipa, like it didn't feel like she was trying too hard. Like there was that effortlessness that I don't hear with Gaga anymore.
they didn't
So okay,
overbuild. They didn't overbuild the tracks. That's why my favorite Gaga album, the album I played and fought for, was Joanne.
oh wow,
I love Joanne. Love it. Um, and that's the one most people don't like. Um, but it's a little more sparse. It lets her voice breathe a little more.
yeah,
Uh, Dua Lipa stuff is not overloaded, which helps it.
right,
And she finds the groove and stays in the groove. We've moving on. We've talked about Sugar, Megan the Stallion.
yep,
Uh, much better than Good News. Uh, it's almost the difference between mixtapes and albums. You know, where
mm.
like Sugar, she was loose, she was in her zone. She was like, I'm gonna call Kalani, we're gonna do Hit My Phone. I'm gonna do a song about weird dicks. I'm gonna call Captain Hook. She was just having fun, making it.
I mean, it's crazy because Sugar was only, I believe, it was only like it wasn't over 8 songs, right? It was very short, right?
Yep, yep.
But the amount of hits, she had at least 3 or 4 solid hits on that track. 50% of those 8 tracks were,
Yeah, I loved it. I
and
loved it.
like, what do you think the difference between Sugar and Good News is?
Oh, easy. That's easy. Like I said, Sugar is in the zone. It's natural. It's the flow of it, right? Like I loved mixtapes better than albums starting this site because it felt like the spotlight pressure wasn't there,
Right.
right? You could just do what he wanted. There was no worry about it. Get as weird as you want, you know, shoot your best shot. Good News is a debut album with all that pressure, right? And so
Oh, that's a good
it
point.
has to work, right?
That's a
It
good
has to
point. Yeah.
work. The features have to be big names. The videos have to be elaborate. It has to work. Uh, and I just like Sugar better. Sugar is more Megan than Good News is
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, Sugar is ambitious, but like you're right. Like it's still, I mean, obviously Savage, the song Savage, I mean, Beyonce took it to another level, but
love it.
the original song Savage is still one of the biggest hits of the year.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's a
Uh,
great song. So 28, Alchemist and Freddie Gibbs, Alfredo.
and I'm surprised this was low, very low for you. I
It
mean,
is. It is. I
because a
love
lot of,
Freddie.
I was gonna say, like a lot of lists have this like top 10, top 5. A lot
I'm
of
a Freddie
year-end lists.
believer, bro. I can show you reviews of Freddie Gibbs music from 2011 on Free Music Empire. I loved him then. I love him now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's 28 is that. 27 is Blimes and Gab talk about it. 26 is Run the Jewels 4. And we were talking about this. It was something I wanted to introduce into the conversation.
Okay.
And this is a Nate LeBlanc thing. 47. When he was talking about Kelly Chris, he said, Kelly Chris has got to be on my end of year list because he's a truly important artist in our times. So when he releases an album, it's important and it has to make my list, right? So this brings a real problem to the front of the class, right? That means Kelly Chris is going to get focus that other artists won't, right? When Nate presses play, he's going to want to like that album and want that album to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
If it's someone he doesn't know, he won't have that same feeling, right?
Right.
This is what's happening with Freddie, right? Freddie is no longer being held to a reasonable standard,
Right.
right? He's beloved, and this is Run the Jewels, beloved. So it's hard to really gauge. Like Spin named Run the Jewels our artist of the year. I'm very happy they did. I'm very happy for Run the Jewels. They're not for me, right?
Okay.
Freddie Gibbs Alfredo. I loved it in the beginning of the year. It's great. It is a great album. It wouldn't be here without being great, right? It's 20.
I mean, it's nominated for a Grammy.
It's 28 on my list. Nothing on my list at 28 is going to be shitty, right? It's a great album.
Right.
In terms of surviving the year, in terms of staying in my listening, it didn't. It didn't as much as other albums did. It didn't.
Right.
And I said this when it came out. It felt like Freddie could do this in his sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was almost too easy. Like Freddie, like what was the album before? What was the album that came? Well, I think it was last year or 2 years ago from Freddie.
Well, he had the one that was just called Freddie. There was more of a trap thing. He had Fetty with Alchemist and Currency.
Right.
This?
No, what was the other? What was the big? What
Pinata.
was the one?
Pinata. Or
Pinata?
Bandana.
Was that
Bandana?
Bandana? Yes, Bandana. Yes,
Badly.
like when I compare Bandana to this, Bandana was a lot better than Alfredo.
No question. Now, but this is the other side of the Nate argument, and he pro Nate, right? Because I have been at times the student who's good at the subject in the class who gets graded harder than the kids who suck at the class.
Right.
And that might be what we're doing with Freddie. That might be what I'm doing with Freddie. Because I know he's capable of Bandana.
Right.
I get Alfredo and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm glad. Thank you. You know? But I'm not throwing it up top 5.
Right, because it didn't feel like it like I said, it came too easy. It didn't feel like it was very. I mean, there were he had some references to Kobe on, like this came out like late March, April, and Kobe passed away like very like late February, right? I believe.
Michael Jordan, cocaine stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, very topical with that.
You could tell like he just walked into the studio and was like, "Yo, let me just put the track."
Right.
He did it, played it. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, let's put together a little project. Like he did the whole thing in like 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And that's fine. Like that. I mean, when you have that talent, you can do that. But for me, I like to hear my art. Like I want to hear. When we get the higher up we get the list, I want to hear your best effort.
Yes. Yes. I'm with you 100% on this. I think Freddie is probably one of the 5 best rappers in the world.
Right now, yeah.
I don't think he tried as hard on this one. So he's not, he's not as high. He's not as high, but that's not diss to him. You know, he still gave me something I could enjoy, and I'm grateful for it. And I know
Right.
he's coming hard next time. Uh,
Right.
it's no problem. But Blinds and Gab, counterpoint, they were going for it on this album. They
Yeah.
were going for it on Talk About It. Uh, Lyrically, hooks, song concepts, they were all in, and I appreciate it. Uh, I have to say, in regards to Run the Jewels 4, I owe them an apology, right? That like when they came out, I was kind of putting it against Shrines, which is a shitty thing to do. And I re-listened to it recently. I mean, it's a fucking good album, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I have it, and I'm so glad they gave it to me. Uh, my son got for Hanukkah got me some stickers, and one of them is a Run the Jewels.
Where did you get stickers like that? I like that.
I think it was T Public. I think they got a T Public. Did you see the Mac Miller one?
Yes.
So great stuff. But yeah, I was telling him about Run the Jewels, and we pulled up Ooh La La and just played the video. It's awesome. It's a great fucking video. Um, Why are they burning money, Daddy? Well, capitalism is a system that traps humans in work. I was really doing it. I was really doing it. Fathership. So, but I'm grateful for them, and I think Al was so fucking good on that album.
Yeah.
The closing songs on that, he's just so fucking good. Uh,
I mean, it came out. I think it was one of those albums that was elevated because it came out at the time it came out. So there were, I mean, that album the week that it came out, it really spoke to what the nation was going through. And it's not very often where you can line up like big releases like that where they're able to speak directly on what's going on in America or in the world at that time.
yep, yep, and
And
they nailed it, man. Snow in the Bluff or whatever.
oh,
That shit. I mean, it's amazing, and uh, I'm really glad. I honestly, I love them both so much, and I think they've done great work. I kind of want their solo albums to come out. I kind of want them to take some time and do some solo stuff.
I mean, but they even sound, you know what I mean? Like they've been working together for over, I mean, when did the first Run the Jewels album came out? Over 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So they've
The
been
last
working to get, huh?
the last activity here I want to do. I think this would be fun if we
Okay.
were to split them up and team them up with important producers from 2020. Who would you who would you have produce Mike's album, and who would you have produce L's album, so we could focus on rapping?
I was gonna say, like, he wouldn't even, LP wouldn't produce an album.
He would co-produce. He would co-produce, but he would not be everywhere with it.
Okay, so it would be what producer I think could get the best like Killer Mike out of Killer Mike, or the best LP out of LP.
Yep.
I'm drawing a blank. I'll let you go.
So I've got one in my head
Okay.
right now, because I was thinking because I've been just thinking a lot about music this year, right? And the best produced albums of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Sterling Tolls,
For who?
Killer Mike.
Okay.
Sterling Tolls, what he did with Boldy James on Manger and McNichols is legendary. It's
Right.
gonna stand the test of time. I would love to see him like add the kind of live orchestration, jazz feeling behind Killer Mike, cellos and fucking, that would just be so cool, you know? Uh, oh yeah, I know. I got my LP solo
Okay.
album co-produced by The Lasso.
Now, what work has the Lasso done this year?
He did Small Bills with Elucid.
Okay.
He also did this album for mellow music with Spiritual or whatever. Um, and yeah, he he's an innovative dude, man.
What do you think about his production would get the best out of LP?
Yeah. So he did an album with yeah, Spiritual and The Lasso. It's called Kirlian. It was on Mellow Music earlier this year. It's super cool album.
Mm-hmm.
The Lasso, Detroit has a history. Both of those guys are from Detroit. Holy shit, what am I doing? Um, Detroit has a history of challenging existing sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Dilla, you can read what Questlove says about Dilla and about how he changed the way the music was formatted and done, right?
Right.
The it's Sterling Stolz has said the same about like T Grizzly and like how Detroit continually changes the accepted sounds of hip hop. Uh, the Lasso is dedicated to that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Dedicated. Small Bill sounds like nothing else. Kirlian sounds amazing. Him and Elus LP, so him and LP together would be music on a different wavelength.
Right.
And that's kind of what I miss from Elusive, just going as weird as he fucking wants with the production and like going full industrial Nine Inch Nails feeling kind of thing.
Right.
Uh, because that's not the collective sound of Run the Jewels, you know?
Right.
But like, I would just love to see it. I think I'd love for them to take a year off and then come back together.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so that's my shit there. Ooh, recommendation corner. We're here now. People, you're talking about people on a run. People on a run. This dude named Ransom. He is an old school mixtape fella. I've heard some Ransom. Big notable mixtapes. I was ambivalent on him. I've always been fine with Ransom. No positives, no negatives. He locked in with this producer, Nicholas Craven. Hell of a they've had a hell of a run releasing these series of like movie themed albums, but they're very
Okay.
short albums, 6 tracks, 7 tracks, 8 tracks. Um, there's one is called like deleted scenes, one is called director's cut. The one I'm going to recommend to you came out recently. It's called Crime Scenes. And it just has some killer features, dude. Um, Flea Lord, Stove God Cooks on 2 different tracks, just smashes it. It's 7 songs, tough as nails. Yeah, Flea Lord, Flea Lord, Rome Streets, Riggs. These are all like tough as nails individuals. Uh, 2 of them are Griselda affiliates. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. And he really brought it. I really enjoyed it. And it's got me into the run, listening to all of it. So, which is good because I've heard it hyped up everywhere and just never invested. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a good deal. Do it up. The crime scenes. So,
Okay.
be thinking about your favorite albums of the year. Um, now, did you while listening to some of the albums to preparation for this, were there any that you heard for the first time?
Uh, yeah, the jazz albums I heard for the first time.
Cool.
And then what was the other? There's one more, like, I mean, there were a lot of albums. There was one more that I had heard.
Was it Cargo Cults or was it no?
No, I've heard Cargo Cults. It was one of the lower ones. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's cool. No, it's I hope you've enjoyed the listening experience this year, just investing in this stuff and putting time in. But it was a lot of good stuff this year. I
Yeah.
could have done 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see some of your top favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, get her done, man. Stay safe out there. Stay out of the strip club.